Hey everyone, this is Joe. I'm the digital astronomer. I want to thank you for tuning into my channel. Today I want to look at how I captured an image of the Rupes Recta on the moon. Now, the trick to this is I'm using a wide field telescope, a 480 millimeter Orion ED EDT. That's not a telescope that you would normally use to catch close-up images of the moon. But I'm going to show you how to do it by combining the region of interest feature in Sharpcap along with drizzling and Autostakkert in order to get a great picture of a very small feature on the lunar surface. Stick around, I want to show you how to do this. Alright guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I caught an image, this image in fact, of the Rupes Recta. That is this little line that goes right down this picture here. I'm going to explain what this is in just a couple of moments, but let me show you why this is interesting from an astrophotography standpoint. I have an Orion ED ADT. And when I normally would shoot the moon, this is what I get, okay? This is sort of at my native focal length. I'm going to get basically the full moon in my picture, which is kind of cool, but it doesn't really let me zoom in on some of the very small detailed areas like I needed to do to capture, this particular picture here. So what I want to do is show you today how I used Sharpcap and the region of interest feature along with the ability to drizzle in Autostakkert in order to get this picture. Now this picture is, let me show you what the resolution is here, or the size, is 1932 pixels by 1408, but it started off at 640 by 480. I'm going to show you how to do this. It's got several steps in it, but first of all, let me tell you a little bit about the Rupes Recta right here. I'm going to draw this down. This is virtual lunar atlas, and you can kind of see the area here that I'm focusing in on. This is the Mare of Nubium. Here is the crater Thebit right here, along with a number of other kind of interesting craters, Ptolemais and Alphonsus. But right here, this line going right down through the moon here is the Rupes Recta. I'll show you a picture of it here from one of the Apollo flights. This is the Rupes Recta right here. Basically what this is it's a cliff. And I think it's about 100 or 200 feet high and probably a couple hundred miles long, but it's only visible at certain times of the month. The moonlight, the light from the sun rather, has to hit it at just the right angle for it to be visible. Otherwise, it just blends in with the rest of this mare. So it's kind of a neat little capture. It's something that lunar photographers like to take and like to capture, but I think it's kind of interesting. But it also helps us to see how to use some pretty cool techniques to get up close pictures of the lunar surface using a small a 480 millimeter telescope rather than a much larger focal length. All right, so let's take a look at how I captured this on Sharpcap. Okay, I want to focus in on an area on the moon. Let me show it to you in virtual moon atlas. I'm going to focus in on this area right here, which is called the Rupes Recta. Now, this is sort of towards the bottom of the moon, and I can't zoom in very good here, but you can kind of see here we've got the crater Thebit, and then over here we've got the crater Burt. And right down through here is this sort of cliff that runs down through here called the Rupes Rectus. Okay, and you can only see this during a couple of days of the month. The light has to hit this just right. And I noticed tonight that you can see it. This little line right here is what we're trying to image and what we're trying to capture. And I really need to try to get that focused in close. Now my Orion ED 80T is 480 millimeter focal length. That's way too small of a focal length to really zoom in super tight. But what I've done is I've set my region of interest. I've come down and put my capture area at 640 by 480. So what I'm doing is I'm focusing in on just one small area of my sensor on my camera. Normally this picture would be, 6, 7 times this, wide, and capture the entire, sphere of the moon. But what I'm doing is I'm zooming in basically digitally on one small area of 640 by 480 on the moon. I'm gonna and I'm going to capture this, and because this file will be so small, I'm going to be able to capture an enormous number of frames. I'm going to go after 10,000 frames so that I can capture what I really want to do on the final picture is really be able to see this. And of course, the craters around it are fascinating. I'll tell you more about them in a little bit, but let's go ahead and start the capture. All right, we're going to start it, shoot 10,000 frames. And I'll be back in a little bit. We'll stack it in Autostakkert, and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, the next step is, now that we've got our data captured, is we need to stack it in Autostakkert. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to open up Autostakkert, I'm going to go to my file. This is the SER file that I shot with Sharpcap. You can barely see the Rupes Recta right here. You'll see that it's a 640 by 480 pixel resolution. I'm going to drag this file up here to open. And then what you want to make sure you have clicked on this particular image is Surface and Improve Tracking. Come down here and analyze it. It's going to analyze your data very quickly. And I'm going to stack the best 75% of my frames. Okay? And then what you want to do is go over here to this window. I click on 24, place AP frame. What this is the alignment points, and this is going to pick out various features on the picture, and this is going to line up the 10,000 frames. It's going to take the best 75% and stack them. But there's one more step that we need to do, and that is to come down here and click on drizzle 3 times. Okay, and what this is going to do is enlarge the picture and help with my resolution. All right, so I'm going to click on when I click on stack, what that's going to do is run through the entire process, and let me show you, because I've already done this, what it's going to look like. Okay, if I go over here, go to Moon ASP75, it's going to give me this image. Okay, now the next step is we're going to go over to Photoshop and we're going to brighten up this image and make it look a lot better. So let's go over to Photoshop. Okay, I've got Photoshop open. I'm going to go ahead and drag my picture over into the program. The first thing that I'm going to want to do is go up here to Image, and I'm going to click on Auto Color. That's going to brighten the image up a good deal. Then I'm going to come over to Adjustments. I'm going to go to Brightness. I think I'm going to increase the brightness a little bit. Also take the contrast up just a little bit. Already you can see the picture looks much better. Now, up here in the corners, you'll see we have some stacking aberrations. So I'm going to crop the picture a little bit here to get rid of some of that. Okay, also I have a little green tinge up here. Again, that's all a product of the stacking. Okay, so I'm going to come down here, click on crop. My image is now cropped. Now, this is already a much better looking image, and you can see we're already starting to see the Rupes Recta is popping out pretty nicely here. We're starting to see the craters and some of the details a little bit better. Now, to improve this a little bit more, I'm going to go up to Filter, Camera Raw, and we'll do just a little bit more work on it. For instance, I'm going to darken the shadows just a little bit. And again, these are going to be rather subtle changes. Maybe take the contrast up just a tad. I play around with this clarity and dehaze a little bit because sometimes you don't want to overdo it with these, but you'll notice that makes some subtle pictures. Look at these lines right through here, here, right through here. That has made that stand out just a little bit. And the next thing I'm going to do then is go over and I'm going to sharpen this image just a little bit. I'm going to drag the sharpen line. Again, you have to decide how far you want to go with these things. I like a fairly sharp image, but you don't want to make it look unnatural. Pull the radius up just a little bit. And notice how up here in these areas here, around this crater here, you're starting to see a little bit of detail to come out. So you want to sharpen your image just a little bit. And I'm pretty happy with that. That's looking pretty good. Again, you could play around and see what you want to do. I'll also draw up the luminance noise reduction just a little bit, just to try to get a little bit of the noise out. Look here, you're starting to see this little wrinkle ridge down here in this crater. Things are beginning to look pretty good on here. What I'll do is I'll play around with this a little bit more until I get the image that I want. So we'll come back here in just a second and take a look at the final product. Okay, after playing around with it, this is kind of the image that I've settled on. It looks pretty clear. I really didn't do a whole lot of processing to it. You could do more if you want. I want to show you though what we did. We took an image that we shot at 640 by, what was it, 240, something like that. And we've increased the size. The image size is now 1936 by 1404. And so what we've done is by drizzling, we've made the picture bigger, and we were able to use a very wide field telescope to get a fairly close-up picture of the moon. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that it's helpful. If you've got suggestions or better ways to do things, I would love to learn from you as well. So if you enjoyed this video, please click on subscribe. Make sure you share it with your friends and help me to build my channel. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you come back next week.